attention more consciously and more with a more effective strategy. We have to allocate our attention in a way that makes us better. So we want to look at what's going on right in our lives. We want to look at where we're strong and where we're powerful, not on where we should be scared. The body doesn't do well when it's scared. The body shuts down when it's scared. We don't grow when we're scared. The best wrinkle cream in the world is not feeling scared. You're not going to be able to make collagen to fight wrinkles if you're in fear mode. You're not going to make collagen to make bone if you're in fear mode. We don't feel safe. Our cells don't feel safe. Our bodies don't feel safe. Our minds don't feel safe. And by the way, this is what being saved is really about in a non-religious way. I'm not talking here religious, but salvation and being saved is feeling safe. That's a cool word, safe, safety, save. All right. 844-236-6010. Sherry in Kansas, what's going on?
Hi, Ben.
Hey, good morning.
Really
how you doing?
Learn a lot listening to your show. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Hey, I've got a couple of joints on my hand, one of my hands that it's not at the knuckle. It's the one farther, the joint farther out from the knuckle on two fingers that they're swollen. They won't go away, but they don't hurt, and they've been swollen for a long time. And I was just wondering, is there a way to make them go down to normal?
Yeah, something's percolating in there. Now, either it's mechanical, it could be some kind of repetitive motion issue, or it could be something, locally that you may have twisted your hand in some way. I don't, even then it should heal. That tells me that the body's not recovering as it should, which means there's some kind of burden going on in the system. The system is not healing itself. There's a chronic long-term assault on the body, something that's happening over and over and over and over again. And now how are you going to know that? We'll work with me here, Sherry, okay? You have inflammation that's not going away. That means something is happening over and over and over again, right? Make sense?
So,
follow me? Well, hang on. Don't jump ahead. Work with me here, okay? Okay. So if you have a chronic condition, that means something's happening over and over again. Are you with me? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So if something's happening over and over again, how are we going to figure out? You agree that if something's happening over and over again and causing us a problem, we want to know what that is, right? We want to know what's happening over and over again. What are we doing to ourselves over and over and over again that's causing that? So you're working with me here, right, Sherry?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're doing something, or something's getting into our body over and over and over again. How are we going to find out what that is? Well, first we could guess, I suppose. We could say, well, maybe it's like a dust in the air. Maybe it's something I'm breathing. We could guess, right? And that's one way of doing it. A lot of people do it with guesswork or beliefs. But more appropriately, we could actually see what's happening in our body. All right? So how do you see what's happening in your body? You look for symptoms. You with me, Sherry?
Yes.
We look for symptoms in the body. We scan, we search, we look for where things are happening in our body. We have to become vigilant about our body's processes. Every time you feel a bellyache, every time you have constipation, every time you feel fatigued, every time you feel some way you shouldn't feel, see what's happening. What did you do an hour before you have your constipation? What did you do 2 hours before you have a migraine headache? What happened in your life 3 hours before your shoulder flared up? You follow what I'm saying? We find our symptoms, then we link them to things that we're doing. That's how you do it. It's as simple as that. You find your symptoms, and then you link it to things you're doing. Now, you have one symptom. That doesn't give you enough information. I always say you got to triangulate. You got to have 3 points, at least. You want more. Remember Bob Ross? You know who Bob Ross was?
No.
He was an artist. He was an artist on TV. He would paint, and he'd show you how easy it was to paint. He put a dot in the middle of the canvas, and you say, okay, there's a dot in the middle of the canvas. That doesn't tell you anything. But then he put 2 dots, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that could be. And then he put 3, and you say, oh my God, it's a tree. You follow me? And as you collect the dots, you start to form a picture of what's happening in the body. The dots are symptoms. Search for symptoms. Once you get the symptoms, once you find the symptoms, look for things you're doing that are associated with the symptoms. Things that you did an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours before those symptoms happen. Especially digestion. Digestion and skin are going to be the 2 best places to assess what's happening. Are you with me?
Yes.
Digestion and skin. So if you have now, don't tell me how old you are, but just tell me about how old you are.
I'm in my
40s?
early 60s.
Early 60s. Okay. Are you going to sit there and tell me, Sherry in Kansas, my dear, You sound very nice, and you're playing along with me. Are you going to sit there and tell me the only thing that you've noticed that's going wrong with your body is a couple of swollen fingers? Sherry?
No, but I'm thinking it's actually from
mechanical
motion.
Oh, it could be, but you still should be.
I could see that, if you're not eating right,
more important,
you're
Sherry.
not replacing what you're using up.
That's involved there too. But Sherry, when you were 6 years old, were you not moving your fingers the same way? Were you not moving your fingers as much? Did you have swollen fingers when you were 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10? No,
I wasn't using them in the way I use them now.
Okay, well then maybe it has something to do with it. Then that's conceivable. But the joints are designed to do work, and if you have an inflammation or swelling in there, you're on your own how you want to handle it. I'm not telling you what to do. But if you think it's mechanical and you're not addressing the inside, you're missing a key place to work. And I'm going to move on. I got a couple other calls I want to get to. Thanks. Take care. All right. Sometimes we're just resistant to hearing things, If you got a problem that's chronic, rest assured you're doing something. And that's not a way of judging anybody. That's just saying this is where your power is. This is where your control is. There's so much you can do. Not about judging anybody, not about bad person, good person. It's about what we can do to restore ourselves back to our God-given, divinely mandated state of health, wellness, regeneration, youth, and joie de vivre, joy for life. All right, Rose in Virginia, you get the last word. What's your words of wisdom here, Rosie?
Thank you, Ben. We appreciate all your wisdom that comes from above and that you share with us, your good intention.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know that this caller, she will understand, reflecting on the whole conversation. I wanted to ask you a question. I met the other day this car mechanic, and he mentioned to me that he had a kidney infection.
Infection?
Yeah.
Okay, now infection's a little bit different. Infection is a bacterial invasion. And under conditions of infection, you got to kill the bacteria. This is an emergency condition, relative, depending on how bad the infection is. It's a relative emergency. When I talk about the strategies we're talking about here, for the most part, are chronic degenerative. That is, they happen over the course of time. They don't get better. They degenerate rather than regenerating. Now, infections, that's when you pull out the pharmacopoeia and you go with antibiotics, depending on how severe the infection is. Now, kidney disease, that's a little different. And kidney problems are an epidemic, and it is a really big issue, and it has to do with filthy, dirty, toxic blood. That's why diabetics have a problem with kidney disease, because sugar represents a toxin. All right, so much to talk about here on The Bright Side. We'll continue discussing skin, talk about a major distinction when it comes to skin health. We'll do that tomorrow on The Bright Side. Check out my Facebook page, The Truth with Ben, and my new Truth Skin Health products, truthtreatments.com. Thanks for listening, folks. Have a wonderful, awesome, beautiful day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.